Welcome back to the railroad, everyone. Today we've got a new project to show you. So come on along and let's have some fun with some garden railroading. Today we're going to be in the shop working on a project that has been the bane of my life for a while now. As you all might remember, I run dead rail trains, which is battery power. And some of the connections between the engine and the power car are a little sketchy at best. So let's get into this and I'll show you what I found and what I'm doing to correct it. Okay, so here we have my little RS3. I'll put a little better light on this for you. My power connector is here. I have no batteries in the engine, even though I could. I don't like the idea of batteries in my engine. I prefer them in a trailing car. Now, with this method, we used to run just a single 2.5 millimeter power jack is what they call them. Radio Shack had them on sale. They were like $1.50, $2 a piece for the male and then for the female. And as you can see, these don't stay on that well. You could hot glue them or something, or glue them in place, but I don't like that. Plus, you plug that in and then you've got power. The trouble is, if this wire is a little short where it goes into the trailing car, it's going to come out, and it has quite a few times. The other thing is, even if it doesn't come out, you're working that wire back and forth as you go around corners, and as you know, most of our railroads have a lot of corners on them. So you're working that wire back and forth. What happens in there is you have the inside where a shaft from the female portion goes into the male connector, and it actually works back and forth, and that shaft has a split in it here. I don't know if you can see that very well. If you can see this right here, there's actually a split in that connector. And what happens is that split is supposed to be enough pressure to hold it against the sides of this sleeve and make good contact. Sometimes it doesn't. So it loosens up, and they just don't make good connectors. So, magically, what we do, and this is my little NW, we've taken these couplers, and that's a much more dramatic, nice tight pull. Plus the connection is out here in the middle of the run. Now these actually are going to be a little shorter. I've got to fix those up, or I will leave them hang so that it's around like that. But either way around, it's a better connection. It's not pulling back and forth on the connector itself. And to release them, it's a fairly easy pinch and pull, and they come right undone. So we're going to be replacing a few of these. And I've already started on some of my engines. You can see I've got this one. And yes, I have power connections at the front or rear, depending on whether I'm pulling or pushing with a load. Okay. Okay. Now this comes apart in many, many pieces, so watch your pieces and be careful. Okay. And today, of course, it's staying together. We only lost one step on this. So we'll clean this up, get a new wire on it, put this back together. Alright, so what I've done is to mark these as tender and the engine to tell you which connector goes where. So on the engine will be a connector like this. On the tender or your battery car will be the connector as such. So what we're after is another one of these. Let's go to my toolbox and get some. Okay, open the magic toolbox, and I have a number of these. And the piece that I need is that right there, and we'll be using two of them, one on the front, one on the rear. And I'll need to put this back in place too because it's come loose. Okay, so now, one thing I want to do is make sure how this goes back together. It goes in like so. Okay, now we don't need a ton of wire sitting out there, but we do need enough. Okay, which I think that'll be plenty. Everybody remember red to red, black to black. I'll have to put those back in so they don't get chewed up by the wheels. Okay, now it's time for a little insulation. Oops, sorry. Okay, now you have a couple of ways you can solder wires. You can either tin the wires before you solder or wire them together like this so that they're stronger and then do the soldering all at once. Tinning the wires will make them attach as soon as they're hot enough and you touch them together. This way they're already attached, you just have to make sure you get enough solder on there. So, you want to clean your soldering tip before you start working. Have a nice hot tip. Notice I'm going above it to let the solder flow down and then going below it to smooth or pull the solder along. And again, we're black to black, red to red. Yeah, that kind of worked. Put another piece of red across it, and put a piece of black across that one. Pretty good. Now we need to put these wires back up again. So we're going to move things down here a little. And we're going to roll this over onto our top. So you can see where my wires had run before, and it's just popped out of that area that it was in. Okay, that's everything. Okay. Now we need to put all the railing back together. To do that, we put it back on its feet. Okay, so now we do have the ramp up and running right, correctly. We have our new wire, which it can just set up here. And we have handrails and stanchions. Okay, this one goes there. Like so, these two clamp on. That goes into the wall. This goes back behind into a slot there. Okay, that's in. Now, this front one, we take one of these off, that's the one, slide the bar back behind, and they get snapped in. And then this goes back. All right. Okay, so we have the front wire connector done. Now we just have to do the rear. Well, I think that's pretty good. We have a nice positive connection here. It works well. Another engine that I don't have to worry about. I think it's time to go run some trains. Well, this is what I've done to correct problems I've been having with my battery connections. So I'd be curious to see what you have on your trains. And please drop me a note down below. Let me know what kind of connectors you use if you're running batteries. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. So be safe, stay healthy. We'll see you down the rails, and God bless.